Hey, Mike.
Hi, Ty. Another day.
Another bit of good news in the
Man,
collecting
Tommy just
community.
keeps throwing them at us.
Well, today we're going to talk about something that I texted you. I called you earlier because I was so infuriated by this recent press release. And we're going to break it down here in a minute. And it came from eBay. I'm a big time eBay seller. As you know, I sell a lot of cards, as a lot of us do. And I'm just not a fan of their new authentication policy. Did you check it out?
I did check it out. Thanks to your prompting. I'd seen some videos that people are putting out. And I was out on the golf course this afternoon. So what do
Sure
you
you
know?
were.
I
Yep,
can't
of course.
take time out from that to read about some silly eBay policy.
Oh,
But
okay.
I have now. I am caught up.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, let's just make this easy. Let's walk through it real quick. For folks that don't know anything about it, we'll give you the quick rundown, and then I'm going to give my honest opinion. And I know, Mike, you're going to give your brutally honest feedback.
I can't wait to hear your honest opinion.
All right, let's share my tab here. No fakes, no fraud, absolutely no doubt. We are now authenticating high value trading cards. eBay is going to be facilitating the authentication of cards as of right now over $750. The card is going to be authenticated by a third-party professional authenticator, which is CGC,
CSG.
CSG, and that whole entire family of folks. And they're not at the current time. They're only going to, authenticate cards over raw cards over $750. No patch cards, no autograph cards. No cost to you for a limited time. Authenticity guarantee. We're going to give you peace of mind. Here's how it works. You're going to look for cards with the blue authenticity guarantee check mark. They give you an example right there. And the seller ships your card to the facility. The card is then verified and authenticated through a multi-point inspection process, very much like your car getting inspected. Receives a tamper-proof sticker and a QR code. The professional authenticator ships the card directly to you via a secure and discreet tracked shipping, and all cards at this time will have signature required delivery. Got it. Okay. Makes perfect sense. There's some return process stuff here in case something does, you need to return it. You can return it back. It goes back through the authentication center and then back to the original seller. Okay. They even give you a nice display case. I can already see, Mike, you having a lot of these around your house.
Oh, man.
You're
Those
going to
look
be
great.
Okay. So that's kind of the overview. Let's dig into the FAQ real quick. Any of these stand out to you that you think we kind of need to point out?
Well, that's where we found out that it is CSG that's doing the authentication, which is interesting to me because last I checked, they're kind of behind on their submissions. They're running months behind, and now they're going to allocate, authenticators to this process. Okay. Good luck on your regular CSG orders.
Yep. Please note there is no grading process. We're simply verifying that the card is authentic and you receive exactly what you ordered. Now, when they receive this card, they're going to actually go through and they're going to check to make sure it was consistent with listing title, description, and images as a part of their multi-point inspection. First red flag, right? You can already imagine the type of discrepancies you're going to get with people having something worded incorrectly in their title or description, and people complaining about that. Like that to me is like very ambiguous. I hope that it gets cleared up a little bit.
Yeah, you can imagine people calling it a red refractor and it's an orange refractor, or
right,
just messing up.
Exactly. Will you be charged for the authenticity guarantee? Again, no, for a limited time. Keep that in mind, folks, because the charge is coming. Who is authenticating the cards? Like you just said, CGC, CSG, that whole family of graders, they're going to be authenticating. How long will it take? How long until I get them? After you purchase, the seller is required to send the item to the facility where they inspect the item within 1 or 2 business days of receipt. Okay. 1 or 2 business days of receipt. Like someone screenshot that and make sure that we know This is what they're promising us. Once and is receipt when it's arrived, or like does it take 4 weeks for them to like receive it? Like PSA. Once the inspection is complete, the item will be sent to you with a tracked 4-day shipping. Is there a 4-day shipping? What is a 4-day shipping?
I know 3-day shipping, 2-day shipping. You know,
is that the new priority? Like
maybe
no more than 4 days, maybe.
Right.
Okay. I do like the fact that they give you a QR code that you'll be able to scan and kind of track the progress of things through their system, which is kind of neat. As of today, it's $750 cards and more. If it doesn't pass
for a limited time,
right? If it doesn't pass, it's sent back to the seller, full refund to the buyer. Yeah.
Oh, keep scrolling.
Yeah, it gets better, guys. It gets better. You can't change the shipping address. Got it. Final sell for trading cards that are eligible for authenticity guarantee. An item is considered final sell when the seller doesn't offer returns or the return is requested outside the seller's stated window. Final sell items are not eligible for returns. Now, that is something important to note because there are usually workarounds with because I most of the time don't offer returns for the stuff I sell, but there are workarounds for a buyer to still get a return. Does this kind of lock down that process? That might be the biggest positive in all this for me as a seller. If you change your mind and they allow returns, you can return. What if it doesn't arrive? Okay, they'll take care of it under the eBay money back guarantee. Returns work. You send them back to the facility. They check the tag, make sure it hasn't been tampered with, and then it kind of goes through that process. And then finally, the very bottom, can I choose not to have my items authenticated? Can you, Mike? Can you choose not to?
No.
Okay. So that's the whole process. That's kind of the FAQ. There's a couple other things to note. They are planning on having this lowered to 250 as the threshold by mid 2022. And more importantly, they're planning on authenticating graded cards, patches, and autographs by mid 2022 this year. This just screams bureaucracy to me. How do you process this, Mike, first? Like let's what are your thoughts immediately after breaking this down?
Wow. It feels like, what are they really doing? I guess is what I get to go. What's the point of this? What's the end game? Where are they trying to go with this? Obviously, we know for a limited time it's free. Eventually, it will cost the seller and or the buyer. Somebody's going to pay for that process. They're not shipping all this stuff out. It's going to cost them a ton of money to do this. So they're not going to do it for free forever. They are doing it for free now. It's like, hey, the first taste of crack, it's free. And then not that you'll get hooked on it, but you'll be stuck with it. That's probably the better way to say it. And we're cramming this down. We're cramming this into the hobby, and that's how it's going to be. I have several questions that I'd like to ask you.
Okay, fire away.
So I think as a buyer, mostly you do a lot of selling and buying, but as a seller, so you send the card, they authenticate it, right? Yep, it's real. But I get it, and I go, there's a dinged corner. The pictures, we know the pictures on eBay aren't always very great. And so you get the card, it's, there was damage that was undisclosed or because they said they're not grading the card, right? So they're just, is it real? Is it what they said they were going to send? Yes. There's damage on the card. You want to send it back. I mean, that's usually why people return cards, right? Is there's undisclosed damage or undisclosed something. And you can usually get away with that pretty easily as a buyer.
Yep.
And I don't ever take, and there are plenty of buyers. I've had cards returned to me that nothing was wrong with them. And, they give some lame reason. And eBay always sides with the seller. I mean, the buyer, right? So,
right.
Do you still have the ability to do that? I don't know.
It doesn't sound like you do. Like the way I interpret that is, first off, once you decide, and so it sounds like when you buy something as a seller, as a
buyer.
As a buyer. As a seller, you don't have the right to like opt out. If it's a qualified card, which is a pretty high threshold now, but I'm thinking about this 6 months from now when the threshold's a lot lower and it includes graded cards. Like as a buyer, of course you're going to opt into that. I mean, of course, there's literally no harm for you. But as a seller that are plus 250 and graded, it's just inviting this massive flow of and massive bottleneck into someone that I don't need. Like I don't need it.
Well, I think
don't
as
see
a
the upside of
buyer,
the seller.
what if I'm buying I can think of several reasons why I wouldn't like this as a buyer. If let's say I'm buying a card because I'm going to the National and I want to get a rookie card signed by XYZ Hall of Famer, and I buy it and it's a big dollar card. Let's say it's a Johnny Bench rookie and he's at the show and I want to get him to sign it, or Nolan Ryan or something.
Yeah.
I want to get that card. I'm going next week. I can't wait for this whole process to take place.
I think as a buyer, you would opt out of the authentication, right?
But you can't.
Well, I that's what they say you can't, but like, who decides if you are in it? Like, is it you defaulting? You're in it if you meet that criteria. Every card must now go through an authentication process.
That's what it sounded like to me when we just read it.
I mean, in the fact that they think that we are supposed to believe that it's going to be 1 or 2 business days is insane.
Well, none of us are that stupid to think
right.
that.
But like, and here's the biggest problem of all of this is that eBay already controls every part of the process outside of the shipping. They control the listing, the coordination with customer service, which they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They have the entire managed payments platform now as a standardization. You have to follow that. So what's going to happen as a seller is you're going to sell a card and you're going to ship it through the authentication process. And if they're bottlenecked 2 to 4 weeks, your money's held hostage.
Right. What if you're trying to, or as a buyer, you want to buy a card because you want to take it and flip it, like, hey, I want to take this and I want to take it to a show with me as trade bait. Yeah. Or, I mean, I can think of a myriad of reasons why this just sounds like adding layers to the process that just simply don't need to be there. Ty's leaving now. So another question I have that I will just ask to all of you, none of us like the idea of our cards that we're buying. The fewer hands that touch the cards, the less likely there is of damage or screw ups or getting lost or whatever. I'm thinking about like when you buy from big consigners on eBay, like let's say you're a seller and you have a card you want to consign, you send it to Probstein, for example, just as an example. Not that I'm pro or anti Probstein, but send it to Probstein. Probstein gets it. They take however long they take to list the card. The card gets listed, sold, sent off to eBay. Another set of hands is touching it. They're doing their thing, and then it finally gets to you. And then if I'm the seller of that card, good grief, that's a really long time. I guess patience is going to be needed. A lot of patience. I just think about the less hands, the better to touch your cards to handle your stuff is good. And I'm also thinking about, I wrote all these things down. Right now, I'm thinking about how many cards would that be? Like if you could go look at how many either trading card game cards or sports cards were sold that would meet the threshold last week, how many were 750 and above?
Mm-hmm.
I bet it's a lot, right? And I think right now also because of the grading scenarios around the hobby, you have more cards being sold raw now than ever, or than in a long time, not than ever, but certainly more raw cards because nobody can send them in to get graded because it's not juiced and worth the squeeze. And 250, once they get there, is not that much, really. I mean, there's a lot of cards that sell for more than $250. And I just think, God, this feels like it's going to turn into another clog, another toilet, like we talked about yesterday.
22,493.
That was a pretty good guess then.
Pretty good guess.
So imagine if not that all of them would ever sell.
I could do sold data later, but yeah, there's a lot. No, I think so. If I look at pros and cons, pros, I think I like the fact that it kind of solidifies a return policy. If your return policy is you don't accept returns and it goes and the buyer's buying knowing it's going to be authenticated, then that's good. Like as a seller, I'm glad I don't have to wait and then wait again. And there's a whole new return policy. It's got to go back to the process. It's done. Like it's done. But that to me is really the only pro. Everything else just adds red tape. And when I'm already thinking about what could happen when they're grading, when they're authenticating graded cards. And let's just say the first PSA card or any grading company for that matter, they have a discrepancy with. And you ship a PSA card that's $5,000 and eBay is like, nope, that's a counterfeit, or nope, that's been trimmed or something, right? Something's wrong with it. And it invalidates it. I mean, they're not going to like crack the case, I would assume, right? But they're going to say, nope, you can't sell that card. Do they then trigger that card, flag it for future listings? Or, I mean, who then becomes the authority? eBay's like, I'm not selling it on my platform. You're not selling the platform. It just like, it's crazy to think about what could happen with that.
You just got to remember, Ty, that history has shown us that more bureaucracy is always good for the efficiency of markets. I mean, that allows for maximum efficiency in markets. Enter sarcasm here. I just think what you're going to end up seeing now is a lot more private deals for big cards. You're going to see a lot more smaller I'm going to kind of go, nope, I don't need my card to do that. I'm just going to wait and buy that at a show or on Facebook, or I think you see a lot more transition to people selling on Facebook and Instagram and other platforms, MySlabs, etc.
Yeah.
It is going to drive people. Okay, I don't want to deal with that. So thanks, but no thanks.
Yep.
Because the guarantee, what is the line from Tommy Boy?
But why do they put a guarantee on the box then?
Because they know all they sold you was a guaranteed piece. That's all it is, isn't it? Hey, if you want me to take a dump in a box and mark it guaranteed, I will. I got spare time. But for now, for your customer's sake, for your daughter's sake, you might want to think about buying a quality product from me.
Exactly. Thank you, eBay. I mean, that's what it feels like is happening here. Like it doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
It does no good whatsoever. So I just see a lot more small dollar cards are going to be sold on eBay. You're going to move away from the bigger dollar cards. They're going to move to other platforms because it's going to be easier to deal with. And even as a buyer, I don't necessarily want to mess with that. Like, thanks, but no thanks. I don't need that.
Yeah. Look, I am the first to be an advocate of like, we got to clean up the marketplace a little bit. There's certain things that we can be doing. I think that the responsibility lies on the graders, like the PSAs, the SGCs, the BGSs of the world. They need to be the ones cleaning up their act. We don't need yet another set of hands trying to authenticate something when we already have companies that have been focusing on that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like CGC, like they've been focusing on a long time too, but come on now.
I can actually see how this would be beneficial, like in the trading card game space.
Yep. I do too. I can see how that might
makes some sense to me. So I kind of get that. But the sports cards world, there's places to do that. And I guess they've been doing it for trading card game cards too for a long time, grading and authenticating those. But oh man, this just seems like a
lot of hair on it. I think all it does is push high volume sellers away, and that's a shame. That's a bummer to me.
All right, that's enough on this. We'd love to hear what you guys think down below. Tell us, please. Hey,
Mike,
don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, done. I'm liking right now. I'm disliking. I'm one of the 15 guaranteed dislikes of every video.
Bring it on.
All right, later, man.
See you.